acting as a spiritual mirror to those around them. With heightened sensitivity to the emotions and energy of their fellow humans, the INFJ Heyoka Empath can often find themselves up against waves of overwhelming depression, confusion, and impending doom. Luckily, there's a few things this powerful type can do to combat the negative aspects of carrying the load of this incredible gift. Welcome back, Psychos. Before we get into it, we'd love it if you liked and subscribed to our channel, as well as to click the post notification bell so you never miss a video. Alright, let's get right into it. Starting with number 1. Stop entertaining negative behavior. Backstabbing, arguing, bullying, you name it. Most INFJ Heyokas know that if they're around it, there's a slight chance they'll project it back. Mirroring behaviors sounds like an incredible gift until you're met with toxicity and uncharacteristic qualities that they're challenged to replicate. Empathetic at heart, these powerful givers try their best to stay away from stirring the pot, especially when it comes to others' feelings. They would never intentionally put another person down, yet through their subconscious habits and mirroring quality, the INFJ Heyoka can find themselves in certain undesirable situations. Whether it's bullying the bully or backstabbing the backstabber, this empath doesn't always approve of their obligations. Despite ultimately hoping for growth within their toxic opponents, the hurt and pain it causes this INFJ type isn't worth it. With that being said, when an INFJ is able to pick and choose their battles, they can walk away from the situations in which they feel reluctant to entertain the said behavior. It takes practice, but this simple change can make all the difference for this type when it comes to protecting themselves from regrettable actions and words. Number 2. Learn to turn on and off intuition. Well, it's actually exactly possible to completely turn off or ignore intuitive instincts, especially for the INFJ Heyoka, who can't help but to use their extroverted sensing and feeling functions to fuel their intuitive functions on a daily basis. However, when you become so familiar with being guided by this invisible source, some people with this empathetic type can actually end up taking it for granted. Almost as if it's overused or overworked, these intuitive hunches that try to protect the Heyoka INFJ from diving into anything that can have a negative toll on them become nothing but background noise. Whether it be towards a new person, a new situation, or a decision to be made, instead of trusting that inner voice, some INFJs tend to wait until they've noticed far more red flags than they'd like to admit before finally making the move to distance themselves. So, in order to properly protect their energy, INFJs must learn to trust those gut feelings telling them that something is off. Number 3. Stop feeling obligated to heal the undeserving. The INFJ Heyoka, among all other types of empaths, are known for their naturally engaged intuition when it comes to new people they meet. And although this helps them to avoid a good amount of toxic energy, some people are difficult to avoid, even for this innate people reader. In fact, it's the people with toxic narcissistic and sociopathic traits that tend to be drawn towards the mirroring Heyoka INFJ. With a plethora of spiritual lessons to learn, these types of people feel called to the highly caring nature that the INFJ emits. And while it is said to be an INFJ Heyoka's duty to use their unique vessel to try and help these struggling souls, they can't pour from an empty cup. Luckily, once this intuitive type takes the time to learn to be selective of those they aid by recognizing the simple cues that make them feel uncomfortable about particular people, there's an incredible load that is lifted. So, if there's any sort of unnecessary conflict, disrespect, passive-aggressive behavior, or pessimism, they mustn't longer feel obligated to stay the course of someone's healing. Number 4. Use imaginative boundaries as a worst-case scenario. When we think of toxic people and situations, we automatically think we have the choice to be or not to be around. But quite frankly, that isn't always the case. Sometimes the most toxic people in our lives can be our parents, siblings, roommates, classmates, co-workers, and other people that make it not so easy to create that much-needed emotional distance. For the Heyoka INFJ, who doesn't have a choice but to absorb the feelings from those around them, toxicity can take a major toll. In these circumstances, it helps for an INFJ to visualize a literal barrier between them and their toxic rival. With a complex imagination, this daydreaming personality type's visualizations can actually end up saving their mental sanity. Whether they want to imagine wrapping themselves in an imaginary bubble, blanket, or force field, or even visualize an imaginary brick wall, metal door, or an uncrossable stream. Between their paths, imaginative boundaries can allow this powerful empath to separate themselves from the negative energy the other person, place, or situation emanates. This not only gives them a little more control over when they want to use their gifts and when they don't, but it also gives them time to focus when they feel distracted by both positive and negative external energetic input. Number 5. Don't use loneliness as a motive or excuse. One of the many paradoxes of this unique personality type is that although most INFJs don't really mind being alone, they also crave genuine connection and true love. The idea of living out some of their wildest daydreams intrigues this imaginative type. And sometimes those dreams can include finding deep connections, despite the fact that they feel so different from others. The INFJ Heyoka's mirroring habits also cause them to compare themselves to others in an interesting way, making them wonder if their life is lacking in certain human experiences. These comparisons can lead them to question if they should have more friends or if they truly like their solitary lifestyle. While this is an ongoing mental battle for most INFJs, they need to be wary of letting down their guard too much in times where they feel a little needy for human connection. This INFJ type, above all else, needs to be okay with making personal power moves such as leaving a party early, avoiding certain people they don't connect with, and cutting off ties with toxic relationships despite overwhelming obligation to please and avoid confrontation. Which brings us to our next point. Number 6. Boundary setting is a non-negotiable. One of the biggest issues most INFJ Heyokas and other highly empathetic people face when protecting themselves against toxic people and situations is their narrative. It's within the INFJ's very cognitive makeup to never want to let other people down. So when it comes to setting boundaries, they can feel extremely selfish. Despite the fact that boundary setting is one of the best forms of INFJ Heyoka self-care, it feels wrong and cruel for this type to put them in place almost every time. When this people-helping personality type truly values their worth, they'll begin to realize that the best thing they can do to save their precious energy for the people who really deserve it in their lives is to stop leaving an open gasket of empathy for all to enjoy. Some Heyoka INFJs may feel as if they need to save the world at the expense of their mental and emotional well-being, when all that does is put them on the fast track to mental and emotional burnout. Not only does this change in narrative allow an INFJ to more easily avoid negative energies in life altogether, but it also takes the guilt away from the situation, something that all INFJs struggle with when cutting ties. And lastly, number 7. Cleanse toxic energy. Filled with a combination of observed and absorbed energies, the mind and heart of a true Heyoka INFJ can become clouded by unnecessary emotional confusion. In fact, certain people with this personality type can be so deeply affected by stagnant and accumulating energy that they feel the need to physically or emotionally purge their absorbed burdens. Built-up emotions can come out as an emotional uproar of tears and mental turmoil if not dealt with at the beginning stages. Therefore, in order to save their mental sanity, it is an absolute must for the Heyoka INFJ to find ways that allow them to clear themselves physically, emotionally, psychologically, and spiritually from the outside input. For some people, this can be rigorous or relaxed exercise, such as a bike ride through the forest or yoga in the park. For others, this may be something less physical, like a guided energy-clearing meditation, listening to calming music, intentionally water cleansing, or even cooking their favorite meal. Anything that allows for a few minutes of mental clarity can allow them to reconnect to their own true feelings almost instantaneously. Well, psychos, that's it for today. So, what do you do to keep your mental sanity as an INFJ Heyoka? Let us know in the comments below. Also, make sure to leave us a like, share with your friends, and subscribe to our channel so that you never miss a video.